Happy Sunday, Lightworker newbies. I'm back. I just did a video and I'm doing a second video about what it's like to ground in the new fourth dimensional energy, because these are the two things that I've been struggling with. Not so much the clearing out of the 3D densities, which my first video was on, but grounding in this new 4D energy completely is challenging. And one of the reasons that it's challenging is because the more that you ground in that new 4D energy, the more uncomfortable the old 3D energy becomes. So, last video was about clearing out the old 3D energy so that you can hold more light, you can vibrate higher, so you can spend more time in the 4D energy structures. But once you do that, once you're spending more time in those structures, in the 4D energy field, when you're in a 4D energy field, you spend time there and you settle in and you ground, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. That's the work right now for light workers. We've got to help ground the new energetic structures. When you do that and you settle in and you're like, oh, I like this, this is nice. Okay, so once you do that, inevitably, we're not done with 3D. We have to keep going back to 3D. So when you go back to 3D, it becomes really uncomfortable. So some people call this Ascension Symptoms, and you can have actual physical symptoms. I am not, if you want to get into the whole Ascension Symptoms, check out other light workers who talk about that. Glacial Rain is one. Lori Ladd talks about it a little bit. I'm trying to think who else talks about it. Aluna Ash. She's not doing videos too much anymore, but she would talk a lot about Ascension Symptoms and how to deal with it. So Ascension, in case you're new to my videos, Ascension is this process of transitioning, spiritual transitioning. The human collective is doing, and the earth itself is doing this transition from a dense, the third dimensional energetic plane to higher vibrating frequencies and planes in the fourth and fifth dimensions. So that's what ascension is. It's basically what everything is experiencing now, but we humans are trying to cope with it the best we can. So let's talk about ascension. Everything, everything on the planet and the planet itself is vibrating at a higher frequency than it ever has before. So we're talking about the Earth. The Earth has a heartbeat, which is called the Schumann resonance. Schumann resonance has been just in the past 10 years, it's just gone through the roof. It's beating really fast. And people are thinking that is what is the cause of us feeling like time is moving faster. I don't know if you feel like time is moving faster, but to me, I feel like what used to be a 24-hour day feels like something between a 6 and 12-hour period of time, which what I mean by that is I just feel like time moves so fast. An hour used to feel like, 60 minutes. To me now, an hour feels like 20 minutes. So I personally feel like we're moving so much faster, and that is a part of the 3D breakdown. Third dimensional plane is breaking down because the third dimensional plane is so caught up in time. We're having problems with time, and time is moving faster and doing weird things. So that's one result of everything vibrating higher and faster. Another result is that we are all just having a lot of discomfort trying to fit into these three-dimensional structures. So let's talk about three-dimensional structures and why we're having so much difficulty. When I say three-dimensional structures, I mean the physical world that we see. So the third dimension is very physical. It's very much about, what you can touch, what you can taste, what you can feel, how it feels to you. It's very much about the five senses and the belief that there's not much more besides that. When in the reality, there is so much more to our existence than just that, just the 3D structures and experiences that we have. So 3D is all about the physical, which is very limited, and it's about rigid structures that control that physical. Again, that's very limited. So we have concepts like time and money and the physicality, and there's all these rules about all this stuff, and there's all these limitations with regard to all this stuff. And you have to, when you're living in a three-dimensional reality, you have to navigate that. You have to be like, how much time do I have to do this? How much money do I have right now? How much, where am I actually living? Where am I actually being? How is this going to play out over the course of this much time? That's all so 3D. So that's all breaking down right now. So what you're going to experience as a result of this is what I find that I'm experiencing by, tapping into the four-dimensional frequencies. I'm experiencing a lack of interest in all things that are 3D. And it's difficult because, we all still are living in the 3D reality. So, we all have to have a physical place to live. This used to be a huge thing with me, a huge concern. Where am I going to be physically located? And how can I ensure that it's a safe space and a space that I like? It makes sense. We all have to be somewhere in this 3D structure. I find myself I don't. It's weird. I can't even explain it, but I don't have that same kind of interest that I used to in, where am I going to be physically located on the 3D Earth grid. I don't know why. I'm like, where I'm at right now is in Richmond, Virginia, and I've lived in Virginia almost all my adult life. So I grew up. I lived most of my adult life in Northern Virginia, and now is a time when I would like to explore other places. I'd like to travel. It's unfortunate this coronavirus has kind of jacked up those plans. But even so, I don't really have a real strong desire to be anywhere specifically within the 3D physical world. So that's what I mean by, you lose interest in in 3D concepts, like being in a certain place at a certain time. I've lost interest in that. Not completely, but not the same. I don't have the same kind of attachment to physical space that I used to. I have the feeling now that, because of my energetic frequencies, my vibrations, wherever I am at, it's going to be a match for me. So that's taking, the fear out of the equation. Wherever I am, it's going to be an energetic match for me. So I don't have to have those 3D concerns about where am I? Where am I in any physical time and space? So what's difficult about this is that this is all so very new. This is a very new way of thinking about reality, that it's not about manipulating it through these 3D structures. It's not about manipulating the reality through money. It's not about manipulating the reality through your use of time. It's not about manipulating the reality through the place that you're going to be. Instead, it's about the energy that is inside of you and how you push that outward into the external reality to create it. So, like I said, no one teaches us this stuff. So, it's a completely new way of trying to navigate the energetic field. But it's easier to do it now than ever before because there's so much of this high vibrational energy on the planet right now. So we've got all this high vibrational energy that we can tap into. There's a lot of collective energy with people that are approaching reality that way, as opposed to this 3D way of, I've got to get a job and I'm going to spend this much time at that job and then I'm going to get this money and then this money is going to allow me to do these things. That's, that's the old energy that old energy is completely crumbling, as you can see right now. Like I said, right now seems like we can't go anywhere because we're on lockdown. Um, but that's just a part of this transition. So we're transitioning into being able to really have and be and do whatever we want because we understand that what we are is energy. And that energy can create whatever and however it wants to. It doesn't have to be limited by these very rigid three-dimensional structures. We're breaking out of that. But we're halfway. Like if you're on the bridge and if you're sitting here watching this video of me talk about the bridge, that's where you're at. You're on the bridge. If you're on the bridge, then you are going back and forth. You're like running on the bridge from 3D. You'll go back to 3D because it's, the only reality that any of us, well, I can't speak for everyone because some people are like, look, don't talk for me. I live in 5D. So, if that's where you're at, more power to you. I'm not. So, most of us are going from this three-dimensional reality to this four-dimensional bridge, and we're getting comfortable there and we're grounding there and we're trying to, like someone said to me, I can see the fifth dimension and the energy there is weird. And I was like, well, you're doing better than me. I can't even see it, but I can feel the energy. So let me give you an example of what I mean by that. I was driving by a bank, and it was an old bank building. I don't even know if this bank is even a bank anymore because that's how old the building is. It's like one of those old Art Deco buildings from like the 1920s. And it just looks so old. So I was driving by it here in Richmond, Virginia, on a major street in Richmond, Virginia. I'm driving by the bank, and I swear it was like flickering in and out of the reality. Like the physical bank was going, like it wasn't completely solid and it wasn't completely there. That just goes to show how illusory our reality is. And this happened about a year ago. And when that happened, I was like, wow, this reality as we know it is straight up about to blow because I'm seeing it flicker. Like it can't maintain itself. It is straight up flickering. I'm seeing this with my own eyes. I got some kind of special four-dimensional vision at that point in time where I could see the structure not able to maintain itself. So um, as those structures get more and more unstable, so does our resonance with it. Like, especially if you spent a lot of time in a fourth dimensional space where it's like just peaceful. Going back into that third dimensional reality, and a lot of us have to, for my work, I'm constantly in the 3D reality. I'm an attorney. So I'm always dealing with time because I'm always dealing with deadlines. I'm always dealing with money because most people I represent people who have been wronged in some kind of way, so they want some money for the wrong that they have suffered. And that's a whole process of going through that whole legal process of saying, this wrong thing happened to my client. As a result, my client is requesting money. And it can be a really long, tedious, very third dimensional process. And I used to enjoy this work, and I was really good at it. And I felt some kind of way about it. Just I could really get into it. And now it's just getting harder and harder for me to want to do that work because I feel like I'm working in structures that are crumbling, for one, and for two, I I don't know. It's like a lot that is going down in 3D. Just it doesn't resonate with me. I'm not enjoying it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to be there. It's just becoming more and more uncomfortable for so many people. So, what do we do about this? What is the task? The task then is for us to ground in those higher energetic structures. And so, when how we do that is we have to understand that um, it's a new way of being. It's not always about that time and that money, and you got to stop thinking about things in that way. So you have to think about your existence as not being based in any of that stuff. And that's, I know that's so counterintuitive that, I'm not, it's not important that I be in any physical space. It's not important that I have any exact amount of money. It's not important that, you have to kind of let go of that in your mind and get more into this trusting and allowing space. So you want to say things to yourself like, I'm a sovereign being and everything is all right at all times for me. I always have what I need. And then you start existing in this space where you're just allowing opportunities to come. You're allowing money to come from unexpected sources. Like, it doesn't always have to be that 3D structure of I have this job. um, you're allowing, the space and the place that you are to exist in ways that you might not have ordinarily imagined before. We're having to move more into a state of flow as opposed to this rigid structure. Do this, do this, do this to be in this 3D space like this. We're moving out of that and we're moving into a space of um, flow where you're just going with the flow. You're not um, resisting anything. You're not, and like, it's hard to describe because it is so different, but it's like more so being in a state of being and accepting and allowing more than doing, more than going into, that 3D grid and working those 3D levers and pushing it and doing this in time. And um, it's an odd transition, especially if you, because a lot of us have been heavily um, integrated into, that 3D reality and those 3D structures. So it is really challenging to be like, yeah, I'm going to just back off of this a little bit and let things be. That's challenging. And like I said, I talk to friends about this. And so, we talk about the challenges of moving into that more allowing and also feeling energetic space, because 3D is very much based on the linear, the analytical, and the thinking. So when you're in that space of, okay, I have to think about this, I have to do this, I have to write down this, I have to do this, that's all very 3D. 3D was way heavier, much more into that linear, logical, analytical than the flowing. It's happening creative. So it's kind of like an imbalance between the masculine, that's the linear, logical, analytical, and the feminine, that's the creative, intuitive, flowing. So these structures are moving more towards the feminine, more towards the intuitive and the allowing and the flowing in a state of being. Um, is It's what we're needing to do in order to ground into those higher frequencies, and it's challenging because we don't know what we're doing. So I liken it to riding a bike, learning how to ride a bike. When you learn how to ride a bike, you stumble and you fall a little bit. So at first, when you're navigating these new energies, you're just learning how to allow and how to be. You have times when you're really good at it, when you're great, but you have times when you fall and you're back in the 3D and you're like, oh my God, this is uncomfortable. So like, I've been really in 3D this past month, just because of my workload. I've had to be there, and it just felt so uncomfortable. So I knew I had to get back on the tube and do these videos, because doing these videos helps me to get back into that fourth dimensional flowy kind of energy. All right, so that's it. That's all I've got for you, because like I said, I can go on. So remember the task. First, you're an energetic being of light, and the task is to keep practice grounding in that new fourth dimensional, peaceful, flowing energy. And you do that by just not resisting anything. Don't resist, accept, allow, and see where that goes. Let me know when and how you're challenged with this, because I'm not sure, I know what this means to me, but I'm not sure if I'm explaining this well enough to you. So let me know in the comment section if you're having any challenges with grounding in the 4D energy. So that's all I got for you today. Until next time, light seekers. Bye.